Hi everyone, it's Sue Plumb here to share another scrapbook process video with you. Today's layout that I am sharing was created using the January 2022 kit from Hip Kit Club, and you can see me leafing through some of the papers there. Now, the kit that I'm working with is the main scrapbook kit only, and I am also using some bits and pieces from my stash that I have pulled out to work with this month's kit. So let's get stuck in. Now, the reason for this layout that I created is I created it for the weekly challenge that is hosted in the Hip Kit Club group on Facebook. And this week it's a sketch. Now, traditionally sketches, I like doing scrapbook sketches, don't get me wrong. But traditionally, I am not that great at following them. I tend to start off with very good intentions and then go completely rogue and go my own way. But I am impressed how well I did with this sketch. So you can see that it's got those two horizontal bits there. There's one at the top, there's one at the bottom. And rather than using the straight lines that they had on the sketch there, I decided to use torn papers instead. And you can see those two areas of journaling that's on there. And I was replacing those with that sort of navy paper. So the first paper I was working with, that's that one that's got the beautiful marble print on it. That is called Delightful, and it's one of the Hip Kit exclusives that are in this January kit. The collection that's in there is called Kaleidoscope, and it's beautiful. And this page is one for all the purple lovers. Now, I know there are lots of you out there, and purple tends to be one of those very polarizing colours. You either love it or you hate it. Now, I have to admit, I was a hater for a long time. I was a hater until Zoe released the Bohemian Dream collection for Cocoa Vanilla Studio. And I have to admit, that was what brought me over to the purple dark side. And now I'm not afraid of it at all. I'm quite happy to work with purple. Purple's very versatile colour. It can be warm, it can be cool, it just depends on what you're putting it with, it depends on the shade that you're working with. Anyway, so yes, purple lovers rejoice. There's plenty of purple on this one for you. So you can see that beautiful marble print paper, as I said there, or whatever pattern you want to call it. I've gone with a torn piece of that across the top of the page and a torn piece across the bottom. Now, never fear, this is actually a mixed media page, but for once I did not start with the mixed media. I'm actually starting with this because you will see why. I need to check on the placement of the other items first, and then I'm going to add the mixed media on. Now, it wasn't very messy this time because I actually went with just using some simple ink blending, like dry blending. So yeah, it was easy to do the mixed media part way through rather than starting with the background like I usually do. So you can see I'm using some purple tissue paper there. That tissue paper is what the kit actually came wrapped in, and I keep all of the tissue paper because it's great for layering, and generally the tissue that they're wrapping it in at Hip Kit is coordinating with the kit anyway. So I've got a piece of that marble paper as my anchor piece. I've got some of that purple tissue that the kit came wrapped in. And in my little box of goodies with all the items that I'd pulled from my stash that could potentially coordinate with this kit, I had a number of coloured doilies, and you would see in there that I went back and forth. Do I use pink? Do I use blue? And in the end decided to use the pink one. So I am just looking to see where that's going to sit, and now I'm going to go in and add the mixed media component of this layout. So I am working with 3 different colours of Distress Oxide. The first one I am using there is called Shaded Lilac, and it's pretty much an exact match for the tissue paper that's there. I am just using a little foam blender, and I'm just adding sort of 3 rough areas of colour because I want that poking out from underneath that anchor piece of paper. I'm then going in with my second Distress Oxide colour, which is Tumbled Glass. So that just brings in that beautiful soft blue tone that I was after. And then the third colour that I am going to use is Spun Sugar, which is a really nice, light, pretty pink. And it works well with some of those pink tones that you can see through the paper, and also that pink doily there as well. So yeah, that was the premise for my background. As I said, just 3 areas of blended ink. I didn't really care what it looked like because it was really just poking out from underneath the paper anyway. And then over the top of that, I actually added some stamping. So I used a 4th Distress Oxide colour, and the colour I'm using for this is Kitsch Flamingo, which is a much stronger pink. It's a candy sort of coloured pink. And I'm using a small heart print stamp there. Now, I believe this might have been a Colour Blast stamp. I don't know. I don't have the packaging for it now. But it's just a clear background stamp that's got lots of tiny little hearts on it. And I thought that would work really well with this page. So the photos I am actually documenting are of my gorgeous daughter. She's not really one for photographs much these days, but on this day she actually was on her way out and I said, hey, let's grab some photos. So I managed to snap a couple of quick poses of her in front of the brick wall out the back. So there we go, anchor piece. I'm actually using my T-square there to make sure it's straight on the page. There's nothing I hate more than having my first piece crooked on the page. After that, I don't care where it goes. But I really like that anchor piece to be straight on the page. I've torn down along the edges to sort of match with those torn pieces at the top and bottom. And then I've just gone through with my fingers, ruffled it up a bit further, added some little rips into it. Now, on the sketch, there was some tags sticking out from beneath the photos near the top of the sketch there. And that was perfect for me because I already had some tags that I use as my templates in my little extra stash kit. So I pulled out the scrap of that intrigue paper, which is the one we can see with that diagonal print on it. Now, the beauty of having that diagonal print on it, you can see the area of the paper that I've used. It actually gives me, you know, a unique sort of pattern on the tag that I was making. I then flipped it over, used the reverse, and I went right down to the branding strip, which gave me that pink top on the tag as well. So it gave me 2 fairly unique tags, and it was a perfect way to draw in more of that dark sort of navy blue. Now, on the sketch, there was a 3rd piece that sort of, it was a bit sort of tag or label shaped that went out on the left-hand side. I decided that I wanted to add a 3rd tag. You can see that I'm fiddling around thinking I might add it to the left, but it just did not sit well with me to the left, so it ended up going out the right side there. So I've just, as I said, made my own tags. I keep a couple on my desk usually at all times, and I can just trace around those and make them out of pattern paper, punch a single hole through with my hole punch, and then I usually tie them off with baker's twine because I love the texture and all the colours that baker's twine comes in. And yep, I just think it's a little fun element to add to the page. So when I do stick those tags down on the page, as with a lot of the embellishments that I add to my layouts, I try to bend them up away from the page just to add a bit of extra dimension to the page. It just adds a bit of extra visual interest and it gives you depth on your page. It doesn't have everything looking so flat. So the other way I avoid everything looking so flat is to use foam tape underneath, excuse me, foam tape underneath some of my embellishments just to pop them up and give the embellishments varying heights. And I always add scrap cardboard to the back of my photos because it helps provide a layer of separation between the background and my photos and bring them up to the viewer's eye. Because ultimately the reason we are creating these pages, the photos are the star of the show. So you don't want your photos, you know, melding into the background or becoming lost. And yeah, if you add some foam tape or foam or scrap cardboard or whatever you've got laying around, add it on the back of your photos and just bring them up that little bit extra. Okay, back to the layout. I'll get off my soapbox now. Stop rambling shit. You can see that I fiddled around with a cut file there. It was actually a Hip Kit cut file that I had. I've already cut it. It's sitting in that little box just in case I wanted to use it. I did think that in terms of placement, it would have worked quite well on this page. But because this page is going to be so busy with those patterns and all the little bits and pieces that I'm intending to add to it, I decided to not use the cut file in the end. Now, if you're a fan of cut files, don't fear. I will make sure that that cut file appears in another page. It won't go to waste. And so there's the sketch. Let's check in how I'm doing with the sketch. I'm doing pretty well, actually. Look at those 2 horizontal pieces, top and bottom, 2 photos, 2 tags, anchor piece, and I've got where that circular embellishment is represented on the right-hand side is where I've put that little handmade heart embellishment from Charms Creations. Now I'm adding a few little fussy cut rainbows that I cut from one of the other papers in the kit. At this stage, I'm trying to create my visual triangle. I fussed around trying to put them in other places, but my mind just will not allow me to put them where they don't balance. So that's how I've ended up with one down in that bottom section of the layout. And I didn't want to just add it on top of the paper. It needed something to anchor it. So I'm just cutting a little narrow strip of that navy paper. You'll see that I'm going to roll it over in a minute. There we go. And that just provides an anchor for that little rainbow, because otherwise it was just floating in the middle of that paper and it just didn't look any good. So I'll create a little cluster down there using that rainbow as the main part of the cluster. Okay, so moving on. I'm doing lots of little things now. So I'm pulling out the chipboard stickers there, which again, like I said, are from the Kaleidoscope collection. That is a Hip Kit exclusive collection. I've pulled out that little Keep On Dreaming phrase there, which I've decided to stick over the middle of the 2 photos because I like the way she sort of looks a bit dreamy. Now, this other one that I am holding, that Good Things Ahead phrase, I ended up using that as my page title, and I decided to actually put it where the title was in the sketch. I tried it in other places, and then it was like, no, I'm actually going to go with the sketch, so I've popped it up there in that top section of the page. Now, as I said, that down the bottom there where I had stuck that rainbow, I needed to create a cluster. I couldn't just have a rainbow just floating in the middle of space all by itself. So I added that little strip of paper. I've added a little chipboard flower. I've added that Be Amazing phrase from the ephemera pack, which I have popped up onto foam, like I said, just to give that little bit of dimension. And I did end up adding a little tiny die-cut heart to that cluster down the bottom, but you don't see me do that because I actually did it after I turned the camera off. I looked at that cluster and I thought it needs a little pop of yellow because I had a couple of other little pops of yellow on the page. You'll see there's one above the photos. It's a little chipboard flowers, and you'll see that there's that yellow flower I've just popped in on the right-hand side. And my brain couldn't do it. I needed something else yellow and to help build that visual triangle. So I added a little yellow heart to that bottom cluster. Okay, so here I am fiddling around with some more dimensional embellishments here. I've got a Cocoa Vanilla Studio flare button, which was from long, long ago. It's actually lost its sticky, so I'm adding some liquid adhesive to the back of it. I've also got that cute little heart rainbow resin thing that crap knows where I got that. Like, that was just hanging around in my stash. So that went on there too because it worked really well with this page. I pulled out this gorgeous washi tape that I had in my stash. The colours in it were just perfect for this page, for this collection. That's why it's sitting in my little stash bowl to use it again. Now, tapping my fingers, I did realise I've forgotten to stick that down. Yeah, that was, I took a while digging through this pack of ephemera because there are so many little tiny pieces in it. Okay, let's check that sketch again. How am I looking? I've done pretty well. Are you impressed? I shit you not, I am impressed. I impressed myself with this. Now, the finishing touch for this layout was just some splatters with some navy Heidi Swap colour shine, and that was it. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you've enjoyed this. I didn't drop too many swear words. Thank you to everyone that's a new subscriber to my channel. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.